Hi you guys, I'm in a sea of furniture. I have two finished pieces and then this is the one that I'm going to do today's video on. So it's huge, it's very heavy. To my shock and delight, I found this piece on the curb for free last fall in my own neighborhood while I was just going on one of my daily walks. And I quickly texted my son and said, meet me down here, we have to get some furniture. It was heavy, barely fit in my truck, but we got it home. And when I did, I was so pleasantly surprised when I found out that it's a Heywood Wakefield piece, which is a super high quality piece. It's been sitting in my garage for months. One, because I just wasn't sure what I wanted to do with it. And two, because it's big and heavy and I tend to put those pieces towards the back. But recently I had a potential client reach out to me looking for a piece like this. And she wanted something to kind of go underneath a TV. It's a perfect size for that. It is a gift for her sister who just bought like a new lake house, like a cabin. She loved it, and I am so happy that she's the one that picked the color for this, because I feel like I would have never been able to. There's too many choices, but because it is a lake house and those coastal vibes, we're gonna make it look like it fits in perfectly. So I hope you guys enjoyed this makeover. Okay, so like I said earlier, you guys, last fall I was on one of my daily walks and I saw this beauty on the curb in my neighborhood. I took a quick look at it and knew it was a high quality piece and it was free. So I texted my son and said, meet me down here, let's get this beast in the truck. I brought it home and gave it a good once over, and it is so nice. But to my shock and awe, you guys, I found a maker's mark, and it is a Heywood Wakefield, which is a very high quality furniture brand. This piece sat in my garage for months, partly because I really didn't know what I wanted to do with it. And also, like I said, it's just very big and heavy. And so I just kind of pushed it to the back. But I recently had a client reach out to me asking if I had a piece that would fit underneath a very large TV, and this instantly came to mind. So I sent her pictures and dimensions, and we talked about design plan, and she said, yes, let's do it. So I had my son help me move it inside and gave it yet another inspection. Everything looks pretty good. Everything was working properly. So that's a good thing. I really didn't have to make any major repairs on this piece. My client is purchasing this as a gift, how sweet, for her sister who just bought a beautiful lake house. And her vision for this piece was, light and airy, beachy lake house vibes. She did ask for a refinished wood top. And while I never guarantee that, because you don't know what's under there, you don't know how the wood is going to act. And in this case, it is veneer. In many cases, it's veneer. So you have to sand it very carefully. But what I did, and I showed you guys my little sanding disc there, I started with 120 because it is veneer and I didn't want to bust through it. But you guys, I quickly realized that this was not coming off easily. It was hard. In hindsight, I would have stripped this piece. But I was out of my favorite stripper, and honestly, you guys, I hate stripping furniture. So back to sanding it was. I went down to 80 grit, and luckily I still did not bust through any of the veneer. But even with that coarse 80 grit sandpaper, that finish was not coming off very easily at all. It definitely took time and patience and lots of elbow grease. So here is just a portion of the top sanded. I wanted to show you guys what it was looking like. And yeah, this took me quite some time. And you know, it's a large piece too, and I fully expected that. So I finished the rest of the top. Again, I'm using 80 grit to get that initial stain and finish off. I'm using my Festool sander, which I can use right inside of my house without getting any dust because it's attached to a dust extractor. It's amazing, you guys. So after I got the entire top sanded with 80 and then 120, I went up to 220, and this is the final grit that I'm going to be using just to give everything a nice, smooth, even finish. Now, I'm sure some of you will comment and say that I need to be wearing a mask, and you're right, I do need to be. I am bad about it. There's so little dust that I get by using my Festool dust extracting system that I'm really bad about remembering to use my mask. But I do have one, and I really should use it more consistently. Anyway, you guys, I'm just going all around the top of the piece with 220, making it nice and smooth. I did end up having to do some hand sanding as well, like in the creases, but this is what it looks like. It looks good, but it's uneven, and you can see that. And I will show you guys later what I'm going to do to kind of even everything out and get the vibe, that beachy light wood vibe that my client is looking for. And here's the secret. I am using a paint wash. This is basically like staining your wood, except you're using a watered down paint instead of stain. You brush it on and then wipe back the excess. I am using a mix of 2 Melange colors to get this light colored stain wash. It is a mix of Woodland Dunes and Dime Box White. And I'm applying it with my Zibra oval brush. And on large pieces like this, you're gonna wanna work in sections. So I did about half of the top where I'm just brushing it on, and then I'll come back in and just use paper towel. You can use a rag or whatever, old t-shirts to wipe back the excess. But you do want to work fairly quickly because you don't want the paint wash to fully soak into the wood. So you see that there, I brushed it on and then wiped back the excess. Make sure that you wipe your paint wash back really good. It's not going to be completely dry, but you do want to make sure to get all of the excess wiped back. And you can see here I did about half of the top, and now I am going to do the other half. And I did kind of overlap a little bit so that I made sure to get nice, even coverage all over the top. You really can use any brush for this. I just love my Zibra oval brush. It holds a very nice amount of paint, and it's so smooth. And again, you guys, don't panic. I am not painting the top. I did not go through all of that work with the sanding just to cover it up. This paint wash acts like a stain, and it will even out all of the tones of the wood, and it just ends up looking so pretty. Again, my client was going for those light, airy, beachy vibes on this, and I've used this paint wash before. You may have seen it in some of my other videos, but it just gives the most beautiful light wood tone finish. Make sure to get all of those edges too. And just again, you guys, my client was going for a light wood top, beachy, airy vibes, and I've used this paint wash before, and it always just turns out so pretty. So once your paint wash is fully dry, at least a few hours, I may have even waited until the next day, I don't quite remember, it is time to top coat. And here I am using my very favorite top coat. It's called Armadillo by Melange. So good, so easy to use, very durable. And I'm applying it with yet another Zibra brush. This one is specifically designed for top coats. And you guys, if you have not tried this, if you brush top coats on, this is an absolute must. When I started using it, I was like, wow, I will never go back to top coating any other way. I don't spray, I exclusively brush, and brushing top coats is not easy. But with these two products, I call them the dynamic duo, Armadillo and the Zibra top coat brushes. It's so easy and it's so good. In order to maximize Armadillo and get that full, strong durability that you need, you will want to do at least 3 coats of this. And that's what I always do, at least 3, sometimes more. And again, don't forget about those edges. Now that I'm done with the top, let's start on the bottom. The first thing that I'm going to do is remove that hardware, and we did decide that we are going to keep the original hardware. I will show you guys what I'm going to do with that later. This hardware is just so unique and pretty and very, very hefty and high quality. The next thing that I'm going to do, you guys, is spray the inside of this piece with Odor Bully. It really did not stink, but I have to tell you guys, I've started using this product with almost every piece that I work on because it works so well. And a lot of times vintage pieces have that musty smell, and even if they don't, it's older used furniture, and this product just works so well. You just spray it in, let it sit for a while and do its thing, and it absorbs any old odors that might be in there. Now I am going to scuff sand the rest of the piece. I am using 220 grit right here, and I've mentioned this many times before, but scuff sanding is very important to aid in the adherence of your paint. You're just giving it a light sanding to kind of remove some of that finish to, like I said, help the paint adhere. With this piece, I did have to do some of it by hand, so I just removed my sanding disc there, and in the more detailed areas, I just scuff sanded it by hand. Make sure to get in all of the little crevices and areas with your sandpaper. Anywhere that's going to be painted, it's only going to give you a better outcome. It is a question that I get asked frequently. Do I have to sand my piece down completely to raw wood? No, you don't, but you do need to scuff sand it. Now to remove some of that sanding dust, I just have my little vacuum cleaner, and I'm getting some of the dust off first before I go ahead and clean it. For the cleaning part, I am using Anvil by Melange. It is a cleaner and degreaser in one. It is non-foaming, it's not soapy, so you don't have to come back in and do another cleaning with clear water. I absolutely love it. When you use this cleaner, you can literally feel the difference in how clean your piece is. And you just want to scrub away, make sure you don't miss any of those, little nooks and crannies. I didn't record the cleaning of the inside of this piece, but for that, I typically use good old Dawn dish soap and water. Once the piece has been scuff sanded and cleaned, it's time for paint. You guys, this color is a custom mix by Melange. I used it on a piece previously that this client really loved, and luckily I still had some of it on hand. The color mix was Old Soul and Dime Box White. Unfortunately, Old Soul is no longer in Melange's color palette, but like I said, I still had some on hand, so I was able to use it. I am brushing it on with my Rachel brush, also by Melange. It's my absolute favorite go-to brush. I use it 99% of the time, but I always do recommend that you try different brushes to see what works best for you. Now, this paint job might look a little wonky to you guys because I realized I forgot to tape off the hinges. Initially, I did not want to take the doors off. If you have taken doors off of pieces before, you may know that it can be very tricky to put them back on. So I did not want to do that. So once I realized, oh shoot, I didn't tape off the hinges, then I kind of just painted the areas that, that I could avoid the hinges, let that dry, and then I came back in and taped those off, which ended up being unsuccessful anyway, you guys. I'll tell you about that later. The primer is built in with this paint, so I did not prime my piece. The coverage is excellent, and even though I'm going from a darker wood tone to kind of a lighter color, I didn't have any bleed through. Okay, so here I am taping off the hinges. Now I thought this would work. I thought, I'll just be really careful around the hinges and then I won't have to worry about removing the doors. But once I was done with it, you guys, it did not look good. I got paint on the hinges. It was too hard to get behind and underneath those hinges, and it did not look good at all. So in the end, I ended up removing the doors, and you guys, I should have just removed them from the beginning. It would have saved me some time, and I'm sorry I did not record that part. What I was showing you guys there is that in between coats of paint, I store my paintbrush in a baggie, or you could use plastic wrap, and that will save you from having to wash out your brush between every single coat. It works like a charm. So now I'm moving on to the doors, and again, the paint is just going on so nicely. I ended up doing a total of 3 coats on this piece. I do think that I could have gotten away with 2, but there were some areas that just needed a little bit extra, and because I had to take the doors off, I had to do that extra painting anyway, so I ended up just doing a total of 3 coats on the entire piece. Also with this paint, you guys, the top coat is built in, and that's why it's called Melange 1. It's an all-in-one paint, primer, paint, and top coat. Coverage is excellent. Durability is excellent. It is self-leveling, meaning that you won't see any brush strokes. Oh, it's so good. It's my absolute favorite, my go-to paint. I will link this paint brand in the description for you. Now, while that paint is drying, let's talk about the hardware. It's so beautiful, you guys, but it needs something. It needs to be cleaned or painted. So I did use my hardware soup recipe. I have a whole other video on that you guys can watch in detail to see what I do. But basically I boil it in vinegar and water, and that's what you see here. And then there's lots of scrubbing that goes into it. After I got it cleaned with my hardware soup, it did clean up pretty good, but this hardware had appeared to be like previously painted, I think. So some of the paint was stuck in the detailed grooves, and I'm just using a toothpick to try to get that out. Probably not the most efficient or effective way, but it did work. In the end, you guys, I decided to spray this because while it did clean up good, it didn't clean up great. And my client really wanted that nice, clean, gold hardware, and I just didn't think that this was good enough, I guess. But the thing is, even if you're going to spray your hardware, you still have to give it a very thorough cleaning first to make sure that your paint is going to adhere nicely to it. So that's why I took the time to make sure to get all of that extra crud and even that extra paint out before spraying it. You guys, these are so good. I wish you could feel them. They're heavy. You can tell that they're such nice quality. Here is the spray paint that I am using for the hardware. It's Sunlit Brass by Rust-Oleum, and you want to do kind of light coats on this, and you're going to need several coats. Okay, you guys, now I know I didn't show every single step, but I showed as much as I could. Here it is before, and here it is now. Light, airy, beachy lake house vibes, right? Look at how nice that top turned out with that paint wash. So good. You would have never imagined that this piece had such a dark wood top before. And while it's not perfect, none of my pieces are perfect, especially working with older or vintage furniture. And I don't want them to be perfect. I want them to have character and charm. But you guys, it's so pretty. The paint wash looks great. The paint looks great. Look at that finish. No brush strokes. And it has the most beautiful sheen. It's not shiny, it's not matte, it's the perfect satin finish. I love this piece, I love this paint, and I hope you guys love it too, and maybe we'll even give this paint a try. Here's a few still shots for you guys. And remember, you can always use my code JEN10 for 10% off your Melange orders. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here. More videos coming soon.